Hey guys, hello and welcome to Bilalism, the World Cup series. And after four games, um, Pakistan has finally managed to win a one-day international in the World Cup. So congratulations to all the fans. It is a pretty happy day. Having said that, this is our third win, and unfortunately, the first two wins were teams that had qualified. This team may or may not make it to the Champions Trophy qualification. So, all in all, you know, not amazing, but I think it has come at a very interesting time in Pakistan's fortunes of staying alive in the World Cup. So, let's see how far this win goes in terms of, helping the cause. And even if Pakistan does not make it to the semis, I think it would be quite interesting in terms of if Pakistan does manage to end up at five. I think it would be a decent achievement after what they have gone through in the last 4 weeks. Um, but can't help but feel that this entire World Cup has been a big missed opportunity for Pakistan. So before we move forward, I actually just wanted to check something real quick, guys. Sorry. Um, let's actually take a look at the scorecard. And here we are. So in the first 50 overs, Bangladesh ended up scoring 204 in 45.1 overs. Lots of positives for the Pakistani team. The biggest one, obviously, being that Shaheen Afridi finally managed to pick up some early wickets. And we have seen this in the past that whenever he picks up early wickets, it has a direct effect on the entire team. And we end up doing well. So other than that, if you take a look at the bowling figures, Shaheen Afridi 9 overs, 23 runs only for 3 wickets. He today became the fastest 200 one-day international wickets, which is a very strong response to all the people out there that have been calling him ordinary, that have mentioned things like he's no Wasim Akram. Wasim Akram was no Wasim Akram in the first 51 one internationals. So I'm not sure what people are trying to get to. Yes, Shaheen has created hype because he consistently took out top batting lineups around the world with the new ball, and the hype was well deserved. He has been going through a lean patch, and he's trying to rediscover that late swing that he gets. But even though he's not at his best when it comes to his in swing, but his outswing has been doing wonders. That ball that got Mahmudullah out was just unbelievable. Going around the wicket, pitching the ball middle and off, and then hitting top of off. It doesn't really get any better than that. It's a very difficult angle for any batsman to play. Moving on to Iftikhar, I'm actually quite okay with this move that Babar has made of having Iftikhar start. He bowled 10 overs today, 44 runs, picked up 1 wicket. Very, very good, solid guy to have in your team. And the more pressure that Babar puts on him, I feel Iftikhar is the kind of guy that's going to respond. Um, After that is Haris Rauf. Haris Rauf does go for runs in early overs. That part of his one-day international games, a one-day international bowling approach, he needs to work out. But he's getting there, right? And the more games that he's going to play, considering that he's literally jumped from table cricket to T20. He's also played a test or two, and now he's playing one-day internationals consistently without getting injured. These are all positive signs. I understand that everyone's very frustrated looking at the overall performance of the bowling. I think losing Naseem Shah was huge. It exposed some of those issues, right? One being that Haris Rauf is not really a one-day international bowler quite yet. He's getting there though. He's a very fast learner, and the more four-day cricket he plays, I think um, that journey is going to speed up even more. Then we have Mohammad Wasim. It was quite refreshing actually to see Mohammad Wasim bowl with the old ball. With the new ball, I think he still needs to work on his hard lengths and lines in one days. But with the old ball, the guy's lethal, especially if there's any reversing available. I think he's the guy that Babur needs to consistently go to in his death overs. He just needs to figure out how he wants to use him early on. And then last but not least, Osama Mir, 10 over 66 runs. I'm sure people are not very happy with his performance because he tends to give some full tosses and short balls as freebies. And even in a game where the highest economy rate out of everybody else was 4.5, which was Haris Rose, his was still 6.6. But I think we just need to be very patient. We simply have not invested enough in this guy. Any leggy at the one-day level that can turn the ball is gold dust these days. And with all this aggression coming into play, having a genuine leggy bowling for your team is a big gift that Babur has. But he needs to allow this guy to settle down. He needs to give him some security that this is your spot long term, and we need you to perform. But you have time. He needs to give him specific goals, the lines and lengths he needs to bowl. Sure, if in 6 months he sees no improvement, then yeah, he can go and Abrar can come in. Abrar can come in regardless, by the way. But either way, I think it was solid bowling performance. Very refreshing to see them bowl out Bangladesh. Weak team, yes. Having a terrible tournament, yes. But a win is a win, and a win is a win. That's the way you look at cricket, in my opinion. Every win counts because if it's not your day, you would even lose to Afghanistan or Zimbabwe for that matter, like we saw in the T20 World Cup. So whenever a team wins, they should be happy. They should be proud of their effort, and they should then see what they can improve upon for the future games, depending on the opposition. And then we have Pakistan. They chased down the score, 205 for 3. It looked great. Fakhar Zaman finally coming back into form after taking a bit of a break from playing. And then Abdullah Shafiq did well as well. I will dig a little bit deeper into this, but one thing that I want to do is I actually want to share with you guys Rami Speaks. This is Rami Raja's own YouTube channel, and I just want to quickly review some of the things that he said and see if we can add some value to this YouTube content by responding to some of the comments that he made. So here is his review.
करने की जरूरत तो नहीं है इसलिए कि पाकिस्तान ने भरपूर परफॉर्मेंस दिखाई है और वन साइडेड मुकाबला था तो इसलिए बहुत बहुत मुबारक हो क्योंकि इतनी हार के बाद ऐसी जीत भी जो कि बांग्लादेश के अगेंस्ट एक्सपेक्टेड ही थी वो भी बहुत भली लगती है.
I think that's a fair point he makes. That when you're on a losing streak as a team, it doesn't really matter if it's a World Cup or if it's bilateral series. Let's say if this was a bilateral series against the same team, और उसमें 4 गेम्स के बाद 4 गेम्स हारने के बाद आप 5वां गेम जीतते हैं तो अच्छा तो लगता है. Consolation wins also feel good. Let's see what else he says.
मगर ऐसी पोजीशन में क्यों लेके आती है पाकिस्तान की टीम जहां पे डू और डाई सिचुएशन हो, अप अगेंस्ट द वॉल वाली सिचुएशन हो, नाउ और नेवर, मरना और जीतने की हालत में सबके सांस सुखा देने वाली सिचुएशन में क्यों लेके आती है ये टीम? क्योंकि यही अगर परफॉर्मेंस पहले मिल जाती तो इस वक्त स्मूथ सेलिंग होनी थी सेमीफाइनल के लिए. अब ये है कि किसी को जीना है, किसी को मरना है पाकिस्तान को थ्रू होने के लिए.
So see, guys, I understand what he's saying. I obviously don't disagree with him. But I feel like coming from someone like Ramiz Raja, who has played a lot of cricket for the Pakistani team, he understands how things work in general in Pakistan. My take is Pakistan in general likes to take everything for granted. And what happens in big tournaments is that they simply don't know how to deal with the pressure of expectation. और ये अभी की बात नहीं है, ये हमेशा से चल रहा है. The pressure of expectation is something that Pakistani cricket simply does not know how to deal with. Because pressure of expectation comes from, your past performances. So you've done well in the past, so people have some expectations. Now, what you have done in the past, in Pakistan's case, for example, in this case, they were number 1, right? but they knew in their hearts that number one तो हम बन गए और हमने उन मैचेस में consistently खेल भी लिया. But अब how are we going to take that and now perform? Because जो consistency होती है किसी भी sport में, it really comes from your system, right? कि भाई आपको ये पता है as a player, for example, individual player को हम उठा के देख लेते हैं, Fakhar Zaman. Why does Fakhar Zaman do well? Right? Why does he go out there sometimes and score big, and sometimes he's a complete failure, and it seems like he cannot even get singles? The reason for that is his game is not based on any particular method. His only method is that if the ball is in the middle and leg stump line, I can hit that for a six pretty much anywhere from long on all the way to square leg. Right? That's his game. So now if he comes across a bowler that is going to bowl a line like Bumrah does, for example, that he bowls off stump or middle and off and it goes across him to first slip and keeper, he has no answer to it. So that is where his game just falls apart. So he has no method in terms of saying, okay, on my good day, I will score a 150. On my bad day, I can still get through because I will slightly change my method and I will end up with 90 or 100 runs if I play 50 overs. So if there is no method, the process cannot be repeated. If process cannot be repeated, you don't have a reliable game. If you don't have a reliable game, you don't have any confidence because you don't know your minimums and you don't know your maximums in terms of runs. And then all of a sudden, from someone that can score so big, you go down to 60 strike rate or 70 strike rate, putting pressure on yourself and your partner because now you're thinking, you know what, if I can somehow get to 30 runs, then I can go big, which is exactly what Fakhar Zaman says, right? That I was trying to get to first 30 runs in those first two games, but I just couldn't. Why couldn't you? Right? And we can see why, because even in today's game, right, if we were to look at the scorecard and we look at this, he has hit 7 sixes, right? That's 42 runs. And then he's hit 3 boundaries. So that's 54 runs coming in boundaries, right? And that's 10 balls. So now there's 64 balls left. Out of 64 balls, you can imagine how many dot balls he's played. At least more than 50% of these balls were dot balls. And that is his problem. So yes, he was able to hit this many sixes today and this many boundaries, which kind of covers up his overall weakness in the game. But who is addressing that? Because I didn't hear that anywhere. Kaun karega isko address? It's his responsibility. And the fact that he has not been able to work on it means that it's a matter of time when he's going to fail again. Because essentially what that means is any team that can disallow these boundaries to Fakhar Zaman, and it's easy because uske zyadatar shots leg side pe hain, right? So if you bowl across him, you can deny him sixes, and um, when that happens, you know that there's pressure building. This striker is going to be nowhere near 100. We know uska dot ball percentage jo hai 50% se upar hai. So this strike rate is going to be somewhere around 50 to 60%. And then at that point, he's going to be under pressure and then he's going to play a loose shot. It is seriously that simple to get Fakhar Zaman out. And not only just get him out, because he announces this to the world that I'm trying to get to my first 30 runs. So they know ye 30 runs tak zyada risk bhi nahi lega. Agar isko humne achhi line karaye, balls bhi khayega, and his strike rate is going to be low. He's going to bring down the entire team with him. And who was typically opening with him? Imam ul Haq, who is another snail when it comes to building the ironing, right? You don't give him half volleys, he doesn't know how to hit boundaries. He has one release shot, which is he goes down the track and hits over mid-off. That's it. That's his game. उसके बीच में आपने अगर सरप्राइज कर दिया उसको bouncer से, game ही खत्म. He's done. You cannot build ODI teams based on two openers that have completely incomplete games, if that makes sense. Right? So Fakhar Zaman, you bowl across, he can't score. Imam ul Haq, if you don't give him a half volley, he will never hit you for a boundary and he's just going to wait. Okay, ek din main set ho jaunga and then I'm going to hit my average 55 runs. And yeah, that doesn't work. So the good thing now is that they have Abdullah Shafiq, right? Abdullah Shafiq is a genuine, technically sound player. He also has dot ball issue, yes, but nowhere near Fakhar Zaman. So I just wanted to quickly hit up on that before we go back to Ramiz and to respond to his point there. Why do they have to wait this long? The answer is simple. Pakistan cannot handle the pressure of expectation, and because they cannot handle the pressure of expectation, they choke. You know how South Africa chokes much later in the tournament? Pakistan chokes early on in all major tournaments. If you guys notice, it's a trend. It's always been a trend. The only exception, in fact, even in 1999, which we all consider as the best performance Pakistan had in ODI World Cup, we choked in the first game. We just ended up beating West Indies somehow in the end through bowling, but we choked. Pakistan cannot handle the pressure of expectation in big ICC tournaments. It has been a trend since ever since I started watching cricket, which is 1992 World Cup was my first World Cup that I watched. Choked. 1996 they choked in the quarterfinal. Sure, the start was good. They had so much experience and they were playing on their own pitches. They somehow made it to the quarterfinals. But as soon as they had to travel to India, when the expectations got real, they choked. They lost to India. India was not that big of a team at the time. 1999, terrible start. 2003, knocked out early. 2007, knocked out early. 2011, they finally made it to the semifinal. That was good performance. But 2015, same story. 2019, same story. Lost to West Indies. Even in 2015, they lost to West Indies. So, answer to Ramiz Raja's question here is कि क्यों इतना वेट करते हैं, क्यों रुलाते हैं? Pakistan cannot handle the pressure of ICC tournaments. Simple as that. And what happens is once they are basically almost knocked out, where people start, cursing them out that, oh, you're getting knocked out again. This team sucks. Our system sucks. That is when the expectations go away. So that one thing that makes them nervous goes away in that scenario. And as soon as that happens, as soon as they know mentally that no one is now expecting us to make it to the semis, their game quality goes up because that pressure is lifted. It's a very strange thing to say for a professional cricket team, but going by the trend, if you look at historically, it is true and it makes sense. So now that the expectations are low, I can promise you that if tomorrow New Zealand loses to South Africa and this passage opens up for Pakistan, it is still too many games. I know it's just 2 games left for Pakistan, but it's still too many games for Pakistan to still mess up. Because if New Zealand loses tomorrow, it's going to start to them, it's going to start to feel like, wow, okay, now people are expecting that we're going to win both games and we're going to make it to semis possibly. And they're going to lose one of the games. It's too much time between tomorrow's game and their next 2 games for them to still choke. But let's see what else Ramiz has to say.
और अपने लिए बहुत मुश्किल टास्क कर लिया. फखर जमान की इंक्लूजन अच्छी थी, मगर वो डिजर्व करते थे बेंच होना. देखिए बहुत सारे लोग यही कहते हैं कि उनको पहले ही खिला देना चाहिए था. वो इवेंट के बाद हर कोई जो साथ बन जाता है, मगर जिस तरह की उनकी बैटिंग फॉर्म थी, बिल्कुल उनके लिए पॉज लेना जरूरी था. और मेरी आप वीडियोस में भी निकाल के देख लें, मैं यही कह रहा था कि इनके लिए अच्छा है कि अगर इनको और ना खिलाया जाए, क्योंकि कॉन्फिडेंस शैटर हो रहा था लो स्कोर से. सो पॉज लिया. पॉज के बाद जब वापस आए तो फिर हर चीज ठीक चली और एक तरह से एक नेचुरल इंस्टिंक्टिव बैटिंग देखने को मिली. तो चलते हैं प्लस मोमेंट.
So I mean, I agree with him. Sometimes when you get a break, some of your basics come back. Aapki bat speed, aapki hand speed. Sometimes when you're a batsman that plays across the line, you start to hit the ball too early. And I felt that in today's inning, that cover drive. I don't know if you guys remember that or not, but I think in the first or second over, he played this cover drive through covers, obviously, which is uncharacteristic typically, and you don't expect Fakhar Zaman to play a good solid cover drive early on in his inning. But I feel like that shot brought his hand speed and bat speed very close to basics, and after that he never looked back. His bat speed was good. He was striking, even when he was going across the line, he was striking the ball at the right time. And as much as I know, based on what I know about batting, based on my experiences, it's once you know when to hit the ball, right, based on your particular game, you you almost always realize that when I was not playing well, I was hitting the ball early. Or even if I was not hitting the ball early, I was making up my mind a little too early. I still had time. And when you start to hit the ball or time the ball properly, you just have that half a second extra to make a good decision. Meaning, when Fakhar Zaman is out of form, he tends to make up his mind fraction of a second too early that he can go across the line to a ball. But if he could just give it fraction of a second longer, which he did today, he can then decide if he wants to go across the line or if he wants to leave the ball or if he wants to just block the ball. If that makes sense. I'm sure people, if any of you that's watching, if you guys play leather ball cricket, you would sort of understand what I'm saying. That when you're in your zone, you just have that extra time, and everyone has their own way of rediscovering that when they're out of form. And I felt that Fakhar Zaman rediscovered that. He may not know, he may not realize it, but I felt that he rediscovered that after he played that cover drive because his timing changed after that. It was just cleaner. He had more time. But as I said, his issue remains, which is of dot balls, and he's going to have to seriously look into that. Let's continue with Rumi Speaks.
मैच की तरफ वो है मोहम्मद वसीम जूनियर. देखें, दूसरा मैच है इनका ये वर्ल्ड कप में. साउथ अफ्रीका के अगेंस्ट भी क्रैम्प्स इनको पड़ रहे थे, मगर हिम्मत नहीं हारी और वहां पे भी आउट किए. यहाँ पे भी रिवर्स स्विंग बहुत आला इन्होंने एंड में की. इस तरह के जो एक तरह से स्पीड से रहे, जो 140 प्लस पे बॉल करते हैं और जो कि टीम के लिए अपनी जान निछावर के लिए तैयार होते हैं, उनको बहुत इनकरेज करना चाहिए कि एसेट साबित हो सकते हैं आगे चल के. इनको सिर्फ कंसिस्टेंसी लेके आनी है, हार्ड लेंथ पे अभी बॉल इनको और करने हैं, डे इन एंड डे आउट इनको बॉलिंग मशीन बनना है और अपने आप को ऊपर लेके जाना है. क्योंकि अगर अभी अपने आप को ठीक नहीं करेंगे तो फिर ये वक्त जाया कर देंगे. अभी अपने जोबन पे हैं, जवान हैं, ताकत भी है.
This is very well spoken. I completely agree with Ramiz here. He's on point when it comes to Mohammad Wasim Jr. This guy has a ton of potential. He has good action, and you can tell when he runs in that he's not putting too much pressure on his body, which means he bowls within himself, and he can bowl at pace. He's saying 140 plus, yeah, but he was around 140, 141. Because when someone says 140 plus, it starts to seem like, oh, this guy's 145, 146. He's not. He's right around 140 kilometers an hour. Bowls, he's nippy, but I think because he can move the ball, especially the old ball, it is difficult to go after him. But when there's no movement, he needs to figure out what to bowl against good batsmen. Wicket to wicket, extract some more bounds, slower balls. But overall, he definitely is an asset. And with the old ball, oof, I mean, all Pakistani bowlers are pretty good with the old ball. But Mohammad Wasim Jr., the kind of control he had when he was bowling the reverse swing away from the lefties today, it's rare to see in that same position that he's able to create. Reminded me of Fakhar Yunus. Very similar shape, where you can see it almost, tilting, and then it swings late. That was very good to see. To be honest, guys, I mean, if you completely forget about the fact that Pakistan probably will get knocked out of the World Cup, if this group sticks together and they continue to bowl, I'm talking about the bowling side of things, they will turn into a very good one-day bowling lineup. The problem here, as much as I love Babar, as much as I still want him to continue as captain, is that he's just not amazing cricket player manager. I feel he doesn't have long-term plans of how I want to invest in a player and why. The fact that Imam is still in the team, he's been carrying him even though he's never played a big World Cup inning. This is Imam's second World Cup, by the way, guys. This is not his first World Cup. He was a failure in the first one. So was Fakhar, to be honest. We're talking about Fakhar now like as if he's some champion, but at least Fakhar has played some blinders. So I can understand the investment in him. With Imam, The guy basically scores runs against weaker teams. In some bilateral series against big teams, he has scored, I understand, but same thing, Your openers have to be mentally the strongest people on your team, just like your opening bowlers. Shaheen is a very strong guy mentally, extremely strong. So is Haris Rauf. They may not be succeeding, but with all this pressure, you can still see they're running. They don't care about criticism. They back themselves and they do it. But that's the same cannot be said about Imam or Fakhar. Abdullah Shafiq, yes, Abdullah Shafiq is, and 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 the reason Abdullah Shafiq is mentally stronger is because he just has a stronger game, right? He has a repeatable technique. Basics are strong. He's always looking to hit through the V. He's always looking to drive the ball through mid off or mid on. Once you have an opener that has the ability to focus on mid on and mid off, you know that their basics are good, that their weight is shifting forward, their bat is coming from the right place, their back lift is not too away from their body, it's not towards point, but it's behind, or it's coming from behind their right elbow. And that helps, right? Because in most cases, they're going to cover the line of the ball nicely. The only time Abdullah Shafiq fails is when he walks away from those basics, right? When he decides to try a sweep, when he tries to turn the ball from middle stump to leg stump. Those are the times when I feel sometimes he struggles. And I think that is where he can work hard on his game. Um, but other than that, guys, look, it's a good moment for Pakistani fans. Enjoy this because tomorrow, if New Zealand wins, it's pretty much over. It's going to be very difficult to stop Australia with all their momentum going their way. Um, there's hope tomorrow, but again, I I really don't want to be fan of a team that depends on all these miracles. I would rather have a team that consistently makes it to semis without too much effort, even if it loses after that. Um, I would rather have a team like that than a team that wins a World Cup and then for next 20, 30 years, they're shit, right? That's that's my take on this, guys. No doubt that the cricketing system in Pakistan needs to improve, but really what it is that it's lack of mental strength. It is it is too much belief in religious factors. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. Religion helps us in so many ways, but I don't think that every single time there's failure in the team that we should just decide that, oh, it happened because God wanted it. Oh, I succeeded today because God wanted it. Don't do that. That is not a very constructive way of succeeding at everything or anything in life. In the end, you have to make the effort. In the end, your professionalism shows, and it shows through your hard work. And your hard work, why does your hard work help you? It helps you because you have built great habits over time. We are creatures of habit. If you make a good habit, for example, Abdullah Shafiq, right? He tends to only think of V, weight pushing forward. These are basics, especially in one day cricket on flattish, slow, flat wickets. It helps him. You can just see his scores in this World Cup. The two other batsmen that are not doing that, they're not scoring runs. Now imagine if we say, oh, it's because God wants Abdullah Shafiq to score runs, but not Imam and Fakhar. That's ridiculous. Right? So people need to keep religion out of it. It's a professional sport. They get paid good money for it. We all have religious beliefs, but to explain our failures using religion is just ridiculous. So, yeah, so I hope that we become more professional, games get stronger, and these players, when they make it to the Pakistani team, have enough enough guts in them to say, okay, my game needs refinement, and I'm going to work on it. Because I hear too many times from Pakistani players that it was you don't want to change your game when you get to that level. What level? You're not at that level. You're not at any level close to any other big team or big players right now. So fix your game. Look at Rizwan. The guy adds a new shot every tournament. He is always improving. He now has a pretty strong game through covers, which, I mean, I agree that against Afghanistan, that game was completely missing and he got out. But he knows that he needs that covers game. When he brings that game out, no one can stop him. We saw that inning against Sri Lanka. They just couldn't stop him because he kept hitting them through covers. They probably worked on that line for him. Little did they know that Rizwan was going to come up with shots through covers also. That's why he's very, very successful in this tournament. As for Babar's a great player, the best batsman Pakistan's ever produced. I can confidently say that already. I don't think people have to worry about anything. They just need to lift that weight of captaincy from his chest, and you will see him soar. But for as far as today's analysis is concerned, guys, this is about it. Please do not forget to like and subscribe. And I need to get into a habit of saying this when the video starts, um, because a lot of you leave early on. I'm continuously working on the content to make it more interesting. But if you have any comments, any suggestions, any critique, please do leave comments and tell me how I can make this better and more interesting for you. For now, guys, you take care, and hopefully we're going to see a good result tomorrow. Take care. Bye.